Here we go. The big moment is we want to talk about Central. That's the whole purpose of today's show. And there's a big update that's coming for it. And Jake is going to walk us through kind of from the beginning, after install, and then we'll go down a few rabbit holes about things that you can use it for now and what makes it so great. So, Jake,
Awesome.
I'm going to give you the reins. I'll monitor the chat like we did on Tuesday.
Sounds great.
And
Let
we'll
me
go down
pop
there.
over to the screen. All right, so guys, this is our Central 2.0 interface. As we can see that this is accessible via web browser. So it's essentially a web server that exists on your network that we're able to access from any computer that is on the same network as Central 2.0. So this right here, we're going to start from Central 2.0 Lite version. On our left-hand side of all the programs, we have our NDI sources. So here's my PF120. I have a couple of sources from Central being generated by a router from another computer on my network. I have a few NDI to Dante Bridge NDI streams on here as well, which we'll jump into why that's super important. And then a couple cameras. So over here, if we add in our activation license, we'll pop over to Central Pro. With Central Pro, on our source list on the side, we have the ability to add groups. So if I wanted to create a new software group to organize my sources, right, we can add any of the sources I have on the right-hand side. So here was my Premiere laptop. We have a vMix video output. We also have a couple of generator sources from Central. So we can put any and all sources into groups, so that way we can organize them. Those will appear on this side. On the right-hand side, we have all of our BirdDog decoders. And I specifically want to make sure that we know that these are BirdDog decoder sources. So like BirdDog plays, we have the flex outs, 4K, HDMI, and SDIs and quads in decode mode, right? So all of those devices will be able to show up on the right-hand side. And what we would do is we would say, hey, I want to move this camera. We'll select that on the left-hand side. And we want to make sure that we want to connect it to our BirdDog Play or our Flex out. So we'd select that and press connect. If I had an extra monitor, I'd show this over here, but this connected over to that PF120 that I had selected. On the other side, you could also have destination groups. So if you have, let's say this is a meeting room, right, that has a couple of screens on there, right? We call this meeting room 1, and we want to add our BirdDog plays and our other decoders into the group. So that way, if we wanted to change multiple sources at the same time, we can have those connect to that single stream. So this is very, very useful for NDI digital signage now. So if you have 10, 20 screens with a bunch of plays on them and you need to kick over an NDI source to all of them instantaneously, that's what Central's for. NDI routing. Should we jump into the middle modules, John, at this point?
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into that.
Cool. So this is my favorite edition. This is essentially the 2 in Central. So we have virtual NDI router sources now. So much like the NDI tools in NDI 5.1, I believe it is, there's a virtual router source, which I believe, John, you talked about a couple of times on the stream so far, right?
Yes, very much so.
So this is a very, very similar thing, except that exists in the web browser. So over here, I have a video router, right? So I have my preview stream of my P100 that's getting sent into my cameras group, right? I have my PF120 overhead camera, and I have a P200 behind me. So right now in StreamYard, I'm currently using this, let's see, this video router to select my sources, right? So if I pop back over to my my screen capture, when I click this source, the source that's getting sent over to StreamYard changes. So I'll go ahead and click my PF120, and now that kicks right over. Again, I can kick over to my P200. So we have instantaneous switching right through a web browser to that virtual NDI source. If you noticed right there, I'm also using the Stream Deck to do an API call to change that video router source.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's incredible, and it's instantaneous too, which is super useful. So instead of having to have either Central 2.0 up on a web browser, you can have your Stream Deck call out to the central server and do those switches for you. I have another router over here called PTZ router. So let me pull up NDI Studio Monitor just so you can see a couple of things that are going on over here. So I have another source called AV Matrix, and that's from our retransmitter module, which is down over here. Retransmitter is kind of similar to router, except we have the ability to merge audio and video sources together. So if I call this, let's see, retransmitter number 2, right, just as an example, I'll be able to select what camera source I want live, and then I have the ability to select what audio source I want live. So these are all my NDI streams that would pull the audio channel from. So if I pull one of my, let's see, if we pull this Silicone 2 video as my audio stream, and I click down over here, we can see that for video, I'm subscribed to the PF120, and for the audio, I'm subscribed to my central stream. And here, I'll go ahead and press play. So if we go over to Central 2.0 now, I have a new input called retransmitter. And I now have that PF120 live with my audio from a different NDI stream.
So can you give us a couple of use case scenarios where a retransmitter might be super helpful?
Totally. So let's say you have your NDI cameras on your network, and you don't have the ability to feed a line level audio to the input, right? So what you could do there is you can have your NDI audio source, which maybe it's the program audio output from vMix, and be able to merge that to your ISO cameras. So I've used that to take my microphones and add them to all my cameras without having to, again, feed that analog line input into the device.
Gotcha.
You could also do that to send the final program audio. So if you want to, if you're doing a live stream and you need to recut it later and whatnot, but you need that ISO feeds with the final audio, you can do that as well. Another thing would be, so let's say you're in a meeting room and you want to be able to push the audio from someone else's laptop that's being encoded into a flex input or a wall plate or things like that. Just being able to grab any NDI source, video and audio, and mix them together is pretty incredible. So this other NDI monitor, so let's go over here. So on my right-hand side, that's going to be my PF120 top-down screen, so you guys can see the switching in action. On the right-hand side, that's my BirdDog Central retransmitter. So if I want my retransmitter to look at my P100, here we are, right? If I want to kick over to my P200 that I have, switching instantaneously, right? If we wanted to kick over to something that we didn't chat about, which is the generator module. So if I pop on over to, let's say, Silicone 2, we now have a loop playlist going inside Central, which we'll talk about really, really soon. I could pop over to the screen capture. Let's see. Or the Apple TV that I don't have live anymore. Let's see. There we go. Right. So that was from our Cloud Connect demo on Tuesday. So instantaneous switching between these sources, right?